Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, Wise.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, W-I-Z-E. I have a very special guest. He's a best-selling author of the book List Building Lifestyles and Confessions of an Email Millionaire. I really don't want to butcher his last name. I should have asked him before we came on the air. Welcome to the show, Igor Kafetz.
Yes, nailed it.
Ah, yes, thank you.
Nailed it.
How you doing today, man?
Good. Excited to be on the show. Really happy to be here. And, just like the intro said, just a regular guy here, really just sharing my journey, my perspective. So, it's always exciting to talk about yourself, isn't it? I'm just kidding. No, I'm not that obnoxious. No, I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
So am I. So, Igor, okay, so you are the highest paid email marketer out there. How did you get there?
Oh, wow. That's look, if I had to simplify this and give you like the nutshell, um, it's for me, it's been about consistency throughout many years, because one of the things that you probably can relate to is the thing they call the shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
It's when, right, you set a goal, or you decide you want to do something, and you kind of start doing stuff, right? Start moving in that direction, but then things start happening, and then things come across your desk and pop in on your radar, and you start getting distracted. So for me, that's been the case for about the first three and a half years of just chasing different shiny objects. But then at some point, I got really sold on this vision, this idea that if you've got an email list, it makes you almost bulletproof. It makes almost everything that you want to do almost a guaranteed success. You have a foundation, you have a following, you've got fans, you've got an audience. If you need to send eyeballs, traffic, attention to any particular website, link, offer, podcast, book, you instantly have the ability to do that. That's how I launched my book and made it into a bestseller. That's how I took my podcast under the same name, and it became new and noteworthy on iTunes for about 2 or 3 months running. And I had no idea what a podcast was. I just had an audience, and I every time I would publish an episode, I would just email them the episode. So it's really been about consistency more than anything else, and continuously inching forward. Become a little bit better, a little bit fine-tuning that thing every single day, kind of getting a little better. And I still, to this day, follow this process and mentality. For example, today I just wrote an email to my list about the subject line is your butt. And the whole email was, me trying to squeeze in as many synonyms to the word butt, like touche and tuchus and all kinds of stuff like that, into an email, while at the same time encouraging people to check out a digital marketing documentary that just came out that I'm promoting right now. So it's now me honing my skill at trying to write in a more entertaining way, rather than just be just a plain old boring, here's the feature, here's the benefit, here's go check this out sort of email. And it's just it's like a mindset where you stick to what you know, and then you try to get a little bit better every day.
And me personally, I've just started learning about using my email list, because when I started podcasting, I had no experience. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what an RSS feed. I didn't know anything. So it took me learning and growing for me to just improve. Like when I first started podcasting, all I did was just upload it. I didn't put no description. I didn't put no titles. It was I just wanted to get it out. Just get it up there. But when you start learning how to do these things, you learn you have to put in a description, you have to put it in a title, you need to put it in a thumbnail so people can see, like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me check it out. And of course, you got to put in links and all these other things. And these are things I didn't know, but I learned along the way. And the more I've started learning, the more my podcast was improving, the more numbers started going up. And it actually encouraged me to be more consistent. Because when I first started, I was probably dropping one every month or whatever. It's now to the point where I'm doing 3 live shows a week. And so it was just me growing and just wanting to become better at what I was doing. So, but now I'm learning everything about email lists. I didn't, when you're a podcast, you don't think about an email list. You just think when you first, at least when you first started, you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about, oh, I just want to get it out there and upload it and people can listen to it. But as I went along, I started learning. Everybody's like, you need to build an email list. You need to build it up. You need to build it up because it is a community. It's people you can actually reach out so they can listen to your episodes and or support whatever you're trying to do. But I didn't know that at that time. Now, like I said, I'm learning. I've been podcasting 2 years, and of course, I'm still learning and growing. But this is me networking with people and them telling me this is how you improve. This is how you get your numbers better. So it's been a great experience. I love it. I've found what I want to do, which is just being able to share people's stories and hopefully someone can listens to this episode and could be like, okay, these are two guys just talking, doing different things, learning and growing. What what led you into building your email list? Like what taught like where did you learn about building your email list?
It's funny. You just said something. You said everyone's talking about building a list, right?
Yes.
That's been exactly my experience. It just happened several years ago. I wasn't a quest really. I grew up in an immigrant family. So originally I was born and raised in Ukraine. Then at some point things got real bad. I mean, they're pretty bad now in Ukraine,
Yeah.
but at the time they were just as bad. Just no war, but pretty bad still. And my parents decided, because we have a Jewish, heritage, Jewish roots. Both of my parents are Jewish. I'm Jewish. My brother's Jewish. They said, okay, let's go to Israel, because it's not like we had anything going on, but that was better than staying in Ukraine. So you can imagine, like, my dad 42, my mom at the time 39, drop everything and just move to Israel. We had about $1,000 in savings. I remember we brought these 12 big bags of stuff, like everything we had, even to a point where my mom brought toilet paper, like whatever we had left, she just took it. And we came to Israel, and the next 10 years proved to be extremely difficult. Um, Israel in and of itself is a great country. It helps its immigrants. There's different programs, there's different subsidies. They help you find a job, they help you learn the language. But when you're a 42-year-old frustrated Ukrainian guy like my dad was, who used to be somebody in Ukraine. He actually used to own a business in Ukraine, and he used to serve in the Red Army back in the Soviet Union. So he had connections, he had status. And when he came to Israel, all that shattered like a glass that broke, and he couldn't really piece it together. So he started drinking more heavily. My mom, she was a housewife back in Ukraine. She had to go and get some a job really that didn't require too much of a language skill or whatever. So obviously that meant factory or cleaning or stuff like that. And 6 months after we came, my dad suffered it wasn't really a heart attack, but there was something wrong with his heart. And then doctor ran some tests and said, hey, you got to go into a bypass immediately. And so he went into a double bypass, and basically it took him out of the workforce. Like from that point forward, he could never find a job. And jobs he did find usually meant, a security guard sitting on a chair somewhere. But these were occasional jobs, and every now and again, every 6 to 8 months, he would get fired, and then 6 months later get rehired again. And so growing up, always short on money, always being told, no, we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that. Living off of handouts from our relatives and friends, pretty much borrowed money from anyone we knew. and never my dad never paid anyone back, which I now realize what a dick move that was, but that was just the reality. And so when I was growing up, there was this message, especially in a Jewish family, right? So there was this message hammered into me, and it's like, you have to grow up, you have to study well, get good grades, you have to find a good job, and you have to save us, you know. So they were like putting all their hopes on me, in spite of me having an older brother, but he had his own issues. Like he actually ended up, you know, racking up a lot of debt way before 30, and you know, having an accidental pregnancy, and then another one, and so he had like lots of money issues, lots of money problems. And so when I was graduating high school, I I was heavy into gaming, so I loved playing video games, online first person shooters, stuff like that. And I really didn't want to go and get a job. Like I didn't like the idea. And so I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who was never an A student. I was an A student, but he was like a C student at best. And I was studying for this exam, and I was really stressed out, right? And he's like, his name is Max. He's like, Igor, why are you so stressed out? And I'm like, well, I got this test coming up, aerodynamics. And he's like, so I was like, well, yeah, you don't care because you're like a C student and whatever. He's like, yeah, but why do you care? I said, well, because I want to get good grades and find a good job and, you know, do the whole thing. To which he said, don't you know, rich people aren't the ones who get the best grades? What? I was like, no, like Max, don't bullshit me, right? You have no idea. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's not me saying this. It's this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he says that, you know, A students work for the government, C students work for, you know, B students, and B students are whatever. He said something stuff like that. I hear that and I'm like, okay, I got to read this book. And so I read Rich Dad Poor Dad again just before graduation, and it flips the script completely. Like it makes me realize that you can do better than a job, that a job is not a way to be rich or become rich, and that if you want to be rich, you got to start asking different questions. And this book suggests two things: either you go into real estate, which is how Kiyosaki, you know, apparently, like in that book, he talks about real estate mostly, although he got rich through manufacturing and doing some other stuff, selling wallets, I think. He says if you don't have a business idea, capital, or anything, you should go into MLM, which is exactly where I went. And I found this online MLM at $10 a month. It's called the GDI, Global Domains International. And if you refer somebody and they refer somebody and they refer somebody, you know, everyone makes passive income. So I failed miserably with MLM. I recruited my mom, who had no idea because I just used her credit card, and my best friend Max, the guy who said I should read the book, and you know, he canceled the next day, and so I was really upset with him about that for a while. But yeah, I sucked at MLM, but it's through trying to promote my MLM business I learned lots of digital marketing techniques. It's back 2008, 2009. So there's still MySpace, if you remember that.
Yeah.
If anyone's old enough to remember that, I guess.
Everybody had Tom as a friend. Yes.
Oh, yes, Tom, my best friend, Tom. So there was MySpace, Facebook was just coming out, YouTube was still a relatively small thing before Google bought them. And I was doing everything, was doing the social media bit, uploading videos, doing a lot of stuff. And it is in my pursuit of success in MLM that never came, I kept on bumping into this one thing everywhere. You know, either they were saying build a list, or they had lists and they were mailing the lists. And I was on the lists buying the stuff they were mailing. And so eventually the penny dropped after a couple of years of chasing shiny objects. And I said, okay, well, it seems like anyone who's achieved anything online, they have an email list. So I better double down on that.
Oh, that's wow. That is like it took you all that to and it's crazy because people don't realize this. You don't know that, especially as being a content creator myself and all that. You don't learn these things. You don't learn that you need to network and build a list, and a lot of people where they feel at multi-level with MLM is the first people they go to is their family members. And their family members like, dude, no, like I know who you are. I'm not gonna buy this. And so no, this is the first thing they go is a pyramid scheme. it's a scheme. No, we don't want to be a part of it. So you learn quickly that you can't be like the first the first thing whenever you do a new MLM, the first thing they're gonna say is a scheme. No, they don't want to be a part of it. But that's where everybody first starts off with. That's what your original list
Yeah.
is your friends and family.
Oh yeah.
And so,
But the
but
moment you get left out of the kitchen table, you kind of learn not to bring it up anymore.
mhm,
And it's funny because my biggest naysayer was my dad. And he's an ex-army guy, used to own his own business, like a tire shop back in Ukraine. So to him, when I would bring up the conversation of making magic internet money, I mean, you can imagine, right?
yeah,
Plus, I was they didn't just send me to any high school. I was actually attending the Israeli Air Force Military Academy. So I was wearing the uniform, like I was a proper soldier since about the ninth grade. And so they envisioned a different future for me. They wanted me to go to become a contractor in the army and to have like a proper army career. And of course, I came out and I'm like, no. And I mean, what do I know about life at that age? So it was a difficult couple of years for me and my family. I actually ended up moving out. So I ended up getting a job and then getting another job, just so I could move out and not have to deal with naysaying, and I stopped coming to family gatherings. I, came up with excuses as to why I was busy. I was work, even when I didn't have, any work. So it was only after I made my first commission check from Clickbank. Do you know what Clickbank is? Do the
no,
listeners know? No. So
no.
Clickbank is like an online marketplace where you can find products you can promote, and when you promote them, you get paid a commission for every sale that takes place. So there could be a product that costs $100, maybe a supplement, maybe a piece of software, could be a coaching program. I mean, it could be anything really. And then if somebody buys that through my link, then I get the commission. It could be as little as 30%, as high as 90%. So there was a point in time when I just started building my list and I really consistently mailed that list every single day. I made my first commission check of about 140 something dollars. Now, in Israel, and it took that check about 3 weeks to arrive from Boise, Idaho, of course. But in Israel, that's about maybe like a week's worth of job income, right? So to see that amount of money appear magically in my inbox, and then, when I saw that, first off, I was amazed and shocked that finally there's some real money coming out of this thing. I was still way down in terms of like what I invested time and money versus what I made at that point. But at least I had proof of concept that it worked. So the first thing I've done is I grabbed that check. I went to my parents' house and I waved in front of my dad like this. And it's like, hey, dad, real internet money from Magical Internet. From that. So from that day, he kind of stopped getting on my case and he even started supporting me. He would allow me to use his credit card to sign up for an email autoresponders, and he would actually just not get in my way anymore.
Well, they got to people in order. Sometimes, in order for people to support you, they have to see it. They have to. That I'm saying for them, for a lot of people, seeing is believing. So they have
Yeah.
to actually see you make some kind of money from this for in order for them to be like, okay, I believe you now. Here you go. Let me help and support you. But then
Yeah.
again, and then like for me, it's a lot of people that support me are the people I've connected with through podcasting. Like
Mm.
it's not like my wife. She's a big, of course, my wife. She's my biggest supporter, my biggest fan. But you have other family members that be like, okay, yeah, now you're 40 something years old. What the hell are you doing podcasting? What are you doing thinking about starting a production company? What do you know about any of these things? And so, of course, you like you can't let that get you down. You're like, if you let what other people say about you affect you, you're gonna fail.
Yeah, and you're really lucky to have your wife support you. It's definitely not something that everyone can say. Like I work with many students, people who've been, trying to build an online business for a while, and one of the most common things is it's really hard for them to have a conversation with their spouse about what they do. In fact, I remember this one time I was doing a coaching call with one of my students. I just call him T. Don't want to mention his name in case his wife is listening. But so T had an issue. So he's a great guy, had a great job, great family, just overall almost like a role model of a guy, right?
Yeah.
And so we got chatting about the shiny object syndrome, and he went into one of his accounts and he checked what what stuff like did he buy in the previous couple of years. Like he just opened up the ledger of stuff, and he realized he purchased over $40,000 worth of things as a part of his shiny object syndrome, journey. And he said, when he saw that and he realizes, he's like, wow, like I'm so happy that over the years I've purchased all this stuff on a credit card that my wife has no idea exists, right? So his wife doesn't even know. So again, like I'm just saying that you're really lucky to have a spouse that supports you, because that's not a given. That's not a given.
Yeah. So I transitioned to live because I wanted to interact with my audience. Like, this is one of my super fans right here, Corrado. He works with me, and he's always tuning into my shows, always sharing whatever I post. And so that's why I transitioned to live, is because I wanted to give them the opportunity to feel a part of the show. Because he listened to me when I was just strictly audio, and then I transitioned to video. But he's been a day one fan, and so to be able to allow them to give them the opportunity to be a part of the show, I just felt like that's where I needed to go.
Sure, I think it's a great idea. It's a brave idea too. Like I got a buddy of mine who's also a well accomplished, like a really, really, really kick-ass email marketer and affiliate marketer. But he's also very protective of his lifestyle, and he would never do anything that stresses him out. Which is why I think he finds email marketing so rewarding, because you really take no risks. Like you can pre-write 10 emails, load them up, and just disappear. So like very low key. And sometimes he would do webinars, sometimes he would put out some kind of material, and he's got this commitment to never do anything live, because when he's putting it together and then publishes it, he's like, well, I can record for 10 minutes, then take a break, go smoke a cigarette, come back. Like if it doesn't come out right the first time, I can re-record it. So he's really like, he would never do anything live. It's just, I even try to pull him out and maybe do some stuff live with him, but it's just a big no for him. So yeah, I think it's really brave. Like I don't tend to do much live for the same reason. Like I want to have the control.
You want it to be perfect. You want it to be
Yeah,
perfect.
Yes. I don't want to embarrass myself.
You know what? I don't mind if I embarrass myself, because I want people to see how authentic and real the show is. I want them to realize, like, listen, life happens. I've had mess ups. And I've kept them on the show because I just wanted to show people, like, listen, life is not perfect. You can get upset over the mess ups, or you can just laugh about it and have a good time and just continue to go doing what you're doing. So I enjoy messing up and letting people see that I messed up, because I'm human. And so doing the live for me was like, no doubt, was no brainer for me, was because I wanted to interact with people. I wanted people to realize there's nothing fake about the show. Everything we talk about is authentic. We just have a good time having a great conversation, and people tend to enjoy that. So to me, going live was just, let's do it. Because I had started doing lives on a friend's sports talk great morning show. Shout out to Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. And I work their show Thursday and Friday, and they do a live and they interact with the chat, and I love that. And that just pushed me to really just go all in and just start doing lives.
Yeah, well, again, as long as you know what you want and you're clear on that, nothing's more powerful than that. Like for me, the most difficult moment for me at any given point is always the moment when I'm not clear on my vision, when I'm not clear on what I want and where I'm going. So Yeah, like if you know what you want and you're got the balls to go for it, then as far as I'm concerned, doing great.
So what made you write the book?
Well, two reasons. Um, One is the reason that I usually tell people. The other one is the real reason. So first, the one I tell people about is, since we're actually keeping things real here, is because there's a book in me. There always was a book in me. I always liked the idea of writing a book, of putting my message out there. But the thing is that I wrote the book after my message was out there, like through webinars, through all kinds of stuff. So the book came as sort of the natural extension of taking my message and putting it into a different format, right? Now, the real reason is because many of my peers, who I consider to be of similar status and value to the world, they have books, right? So there's, Tony Robbins has many books, Robert Kiyosaki has many books, and I interviewed him on my podcast. And he's also an info marketer, and he actually emails a lot. There's lots of people that I'm sure you and your audience never heard of, who are pretty big in their respective niches, who have books. And when I was looking around, I was like, this guy has a book, this person has a book, I can have a book. But the thing about the book is it's scary. You know what I mean? Like it's very scary for me. It's much easier to imagine myself putting together a web page, or writing an article, or a series of blog posts, or even writing an email a day for 3 years straight, than to actually write a book. Even though, in terms of the volume of content, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, a book is about 10 or 12 hours worth of interview, right? So if we do 12 of these interviews in a row, like starting today and for the next 12 days, that's like a book if you transcribe it. But somehow there's this mental switch that happens, like, write a book, oh my God. And so, part of me wanted that challenge. A part of me knew that I had to do it as a next step, the evolution, because all of my peers, had it. And a part of me did it because I knew that I could. I knew that, if other people could do it, I could do it. So I said, you know what, let's do it. There's really no risk in it for me at this point, besides the invested time. I already had my message dialed in through the different media appearances I've done, through the different content I published. So it was a pretty easy decision from that point forward. However, it still took me 3 years to actually do it. Like, it took me 3 years from the moment I said, yeah, I need to do a book, or I'm probably going to do a book, to actually sitting down and doing the book. And that part I found to be very difficult. It's the overcoming that invisible barrier, the mental block of
Kind
some
of the right.
sort.
You had writer's block at the time.
No, not really, because I've been writing emails for so long that I
Yeah.
could write. Like, it was a different kind of block. It was the kind of block that said, who are you to publish a book?
So you was stuck in your mind.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was with my podcast. I would record, delete, record, delete, record, delete, and be like, why am I recording this? Who's gonna want to listen to me? I sound horrible. But that was because I was stuck in my head making excuses because I was afraid of failing, not realizing that I was already failing by not attempting it, by not going out and doing it. I was already failing it. So
Yeah.
I finally decided to press record, keep it, and release it. And my first episode is 5 minutes long, and it's me talking to my nephew, holding my phone to the mic, and him talking through the phone into the mic. That's my first episode. And the next one grew to 7 minutes. The next one was 10 minutes, 12. It just gradually grew. And he's like, no, we can't release that first episode. I'm like, why? He's like, because we should practice more and let people and then get better so they can. I'm like, no, I want people to see the growth. I want them to see where we started at, point A, where it was not great quality, to where we're at now, where I've invested in better equipment. I've invested in my sound, my video gear, my equipment, because this is something I felt people was giving me something very precious, which is their time. And I felt that I needed to give them better quality as far as my sound and my video goes, because again, time is precious, and that's something they've given to me, and I greatly appreciate it. So I wanted to give them the best I could of myself.
Yeah, and really, what's interesting is you mentioned it earlier that you kind of you publish it and you roll with what it is. You're not trying to make it seem something else. You're not trying to overthink it, but trying to make it perfect. And I see that all the time with emails too. When I teach people how to write emails, a lot of them will build a list and not email the list even once in like a year. And I would be asking them, like, this is the most insane thing you can do. Like, why would you not do it? It's like buying a like a sports car, like a Ferrari, and never taking it out for a spin. Not even saying, I'm not saying you should take it to the track every day, but like not even to just go around the neighborhood, on a sunny afternoon. And so for most people, they're stuck in their head and they're trying to make it perfect. They're trying to analyze and overanalyze, and they're really just self-conscious. And and it's just an email. Email is very forgiving. You can like send a really crappy email today and send a good one tomorrow and still be perfectly okay. But people don't realize that they really make a big deal out of it as if it's a life and death kind of thing. Like if I mail this 500 word thing and it's not perfect, then the sky will fall on me and crush me. Like it's not like that. It is how we think, how we tend to think, but it's definitely not like that. And I think one of the reasons why you think that way is because I remember many, many moons ago listening to a seminar recording by Aben Pagan, who at the time was one of my favorite, like this self-development / business gurus, right? So this guy built a company called Double Your Dating under the pen name of David D'Angelo, that became one of the biggest in the men's dating advice space at the time. And he released a program where he was just sharing lessons that he learned, and he was saying that failure is a learned concept. And if you think about it, no child is born knowing what the hell failure is. Somehow, when a child is learning how to walk, for example, it'll fall a million times, right? And it will not really obsess about it. It'll spill food all over itself, and it will not make a big deal out of it. But then, as kids grow, they somehow learn that they can fail.
Well, it's not they somehow learn. They're taught. They're taught by their parents. They're taught by people around them because they don't know any better. They don't know about limiting yourself and all this stuff. Because you're absolutely right. When you're a kid, you're fearless. You're not thinking about things. You're not like something happens. All right, you get back up and you do it again. Is as you get older and you start hearing people tell you, "Oh, you can't do that. Oh, you're not smart enough to do that. Or you're not athletic to do that. Or you're it's we start getting programmed. We start believing that. We start believing that we're not capable of doing these things because they say we can't. And it's not until we start believing in ourselves and start listening to our self-talk and make sure that when you talk to yourself, you are the kindest person in the world to yourself, because
No, not
not
me, not in this head.
I don't want to imagine what you say to yourself, but no. For the most part, most people need to. Some of the things people say to themselves is just crazy. They limit themselves by saying, "Oh man, I'm not going to be able to do that." I'm like, you don't think that way. I don't think you think that way because you wouldn't be as successful as you are. You like, all right, I'm gonna grow this list, this email list, and I'm gonna use it to the best of my abilities. And you've made it work. Of course, everybody gets trapped in their head over once in a while, and you have to get through it. And that's life. Those are the lessons you go through to get to where you're supposed to get to where your purpose is. And for you now is to help people grow their list, to show them how to grow their list and become successful.
Yeah, and this is what I was hoping to achieve with the book, to reach an audience that was outside of my usual circle, absolutely regular people. Because I would often, like, would for example, I would take my daughter to her recitals, or to karate or something. And people would always ask me, like, what do you do? And, for the longest time, I would never tell them what I do. Like, I would come up with different things, like to be like, oh, I'm in IT, right? Because you say, like, IT is the most boring job ever, right? So you say IT,
Yeah.
they'd be like, oh, okay. And they don't really ask you about it anymore. But if I told people, well, I email people and money comes to me, or, I make money by mailing people, I send an email, I make money. Like, if I say that, everyone wants to know more. But what I found is I never really had a really good, coherent elevator pitch kind of thing to explain it, because there's a lot to unpack. There's really a lot to unpack in that particular, segment. So I ended up writing a book, partially to answer that question. So if anyone ever wanted to find out what I do, I'm like, here's a book, you can read it. I was just actually over at my neighbor's house across the street, and we never really hung out. He is in IT, actually, and he to this day doesn't understand what I do, and he tried to like grill me for details. And I said, well, I'll just get you a copy of my book, and you can read it. I didn't even go into that conversation, because there's some things you have to know first before you can truly understand what I do. It's a fascinating world. Like, I'll be honest with you, the world of email marketing and the world of affiliate marketing as a way to monetize the email list is a fascinating world. It's a rabbit hole that once you get in there, it's like, wow. But you really, have to make a decision. Do you really want to go there? Because, for people like me, it consumes you, because you learn of a better way. You learn of a better life. Like, for example, today I woke up at 7. I started working around 8 a.m. after I had breakfast. I took a break at 9 when my kids went to school. My wife drove them to school. And then I kept working until about 2 p.m. By 2 p.m., I've already made more than most people make in their jobs working the entire month. And I actually was home the entire time. I'm in my basement. Um, I was, I had lunch with my wife, and I have lunch with my wife every single day. I was able to go and pick up my kids from school and not be late and not come up with excuses or anything like that. And I basically had to call the shots. And what's really interesting is you might say, well, of course, for that level of freedom, you might sacrifice income, but no, because when you have an email list, you grow your income through leverage. And the way it works is, let's say you have an email list of 10,000 people. It takes you, let's say, 30 minutes to write an email to that list and send it out. Now, what's really important to understand is that we use a software to send that email. So it's not like me sitting here, copy and pasting that email 10,000 times and hitting send 10,000 times, right? It's me writing that email once, loading into a special program, hitting send one time, and the software just dispatches that email 10,000 times. I don't need to be here. It gets the job done without me. Now, let's say hypothetically, I make $1 per subscriber per month. Okay. So that means $10,000 per month. Now imagine if I had a list of 100,000 people. It will take me the exact same 30 minutes to write the email. It'll still be one click to send that email to everybody. I don't need to do it. The software does the copy and pasting, but I'm now getting in front of a much larger audience, and therefore my results will be bigger. It's the same way when, you got two TV shows. One is some small time local TV show that promotes books, and the other one is Oprah on national TV that promotes books. Is there a difference in results? Of course, because Robert Kiyosaki, who got rejected by 20 something publishers and self-published Rich Dad Poor Dad, went on Oprah, spent an hour on her couch, and when the lights went off, she turned to him and said, "You're welcome. I just sold 1 million copies of your book." Now, I mean, that's leverage, right? And today you don't have to be Oprah to do it. You just need to have an email list.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. He did sell. He did sell 1 million books. That listen. She knows the power of branding and marketing and the value of it. And so the problem, the problem is small business owners don't really know this. They don't have the connections to network with people to show them how to market their business, or to how to build an email list and all that. So what would you suggest for a small business owner to really, what are the things they can do to build their email list?
It's sometimes hard to convince a small business owner that they need an email list in the first place, especially if they've got a storefront, and all of their customers are local, because they don't think that an email list will make any difference whatsoever. So to them, it's really not about that. And to be honest with you, I've never really set out to teach the baker, or the cobbler to build a list, even though they should. Everyone should do that. I really set out to show people a better way to have more money, more freedom, and more leverage in their life. And that also meant location independent income, location independent businesses. So anyone who wants to build a list really probably needs to start off with just getting themselves an email autoresponder, which is a piece of software. Usually you can get it online. It's very easy. And what it does, it will store and allow you to email all the email contacts that you will collect. And so that would be the first step. The second step would be to have what's called a landing page, or it's also known as squeeze page, also known as capture page, which is a page, and I'm sure you've seen at least one if you've been online at all. It's a page that has a big headline and then a form asking you for your name and email address in exchange for something, be it unlocking the next page, or a piece of free information, or access to a free chapter of a book, or signing up for a webinar, whatever that is. You exchange that email for whatever the thing is. So for you to be able to build a form like that, again, you need what's called a capture page, aka squeeze page. And that would be step number 2. And so once people hit the capture page, they will enter their name and email, and that information will go straight into your email autoresponder, where it's going to be stored, allowing you to then mail these particular subscribers, whether automatically or in the form of a one-off mailing. And what's interesting, again, a lot of people just don't get that about list building until they really get into the subject. You can really have 2 types of email campaigns going out. There could be one that's completely automated, and it's triggered by different events. For example, if you get on my email list today, there's a 220-day sequence that's preloaded there that will go out to you over the course of the next 220 days without me being there at all. I won't need to touch my computer. I won't need to check on anything. I won't need to log in anywhere. I could be literally stuck on some island in the Pacific with no internet connection, and it will still go out.
You mean you program 220 days of emails already for people who subscribe new?
Yeah.
And you have that, and then you don't have to worry about them for the next 200 and something days because you're already being taken care of. Wow,
that's right.
That's time saving. That's
right leverage.
Yes,
and so from that point, what you focus on is just get as many good people through to the opt-in form, to the capture page, so they get on your list. So what's then, imagine, is say 2, 3, 5 years down the road, it's still there. It's still working. And in those 5 years, you put thousands of people through that email sequence. And again, all that is automated. So that's how you create freedom. That's how you see people saying things like, "Oh, look, I spent this month in the Bahamas and they still made $100,000." Well, that's because they leverage technology like this, and it's accessible to everybody. Like, it's not just accessible to the rich or to the geniuses or whatnot. It's accessible to quite literally every single person on planet Earth, whether they live in Africa or Israel or Ukraine or US or Canada or Dubai. It's all, the playing field is level. You just have to want it really, and just get off your butt and just go try it out, look it up.
Oh no, I agree. There's so much things out there that we can use as tools to help us grow and develop and build up our businesses, that but people just don't know. They just, or they just don't care. It depends on the person. Like, again,
You know,
me
there's one thing that I will say about people, and that is a lot of times, many times they say things like, yeah, it can work for other people, but it
can't work
not
for
for
my
me.
scene. Yeah.
Right? Because I'm different. My business is different. My circumstances are different. My budget is different. My fill in the blanks is different. Well, I call I call BS, because I've now seen this work for people from quite literally all walks of life, from recovering alcoholics from Panama to to injured paramedics from Brooklyn, to a student in Malaysia, to a housewife from Philippines. Like there's literally no one who can tell me, unless they're really just mentally challenged and it's just impossible for them to do anything on the computer, or I mean maybe they have some kind of disease that prevents them again from doing stuff. But even if you have a disease, there's a guy, his name is John Morrow. I don't recall what his website is called. I think it's Smart Blogger. But this guy actually is in a wheelchair, kind of like Stephen Hawking, and he types by breathing into a tube or something. It's some crazy like that. And he ended up building an online business that makes over 100K per month. Like, if he could do it,
So
honestly,
yeah, there should be no excuse for anyone else. There
no
should be no
excuse.
excuses for anyone else. And that was one of the things. I actually met a couple of podcasters that suffer from cerebral palsy, and yet they continue to do their podcast and do it well and be successful and don't make excuses. I'm like, oh man, if they can do this, why am I so afraid of doing it? Like, why am I afraid to put my podcast out there? And since then, I'm like, oh no, I gotta go. I gotta keep doing this. It's it's just makes no sense if someone I love doing it. So first of all, it's not work to me. So being able to sit down and record with people and have these conversations, I enjoy that. I get to learn, and like, I'm gonna start really building my email list, because having this conversation, and I've already have people been getting into my ear about that, and I need to do it, because again, like you said, it's a tool that I need to use and take advantage of it in order for me to build my audience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone should do it. Really, I got a student. I was just they were just sharing with me on Monday. They've got a like a computer slash smartphone repair store, and they got a phone number and an email address for every single customer. And they were asking me, how can they use this information? Well, I mean, it's really simple. If you've got the new iPhone coming in stock, you know, and you've got like 12 units or something, you send out an email and say, hey, it's going to be on first come, first serve basis. They're arriving on the 10th of the month. And if you want one, come in right now, put down a deposit, and I'll save you one. If there's it's a computer store, so I'm assuming there's some gamers that are coming in to buy parts and stuff, and maybe the Nvidia is releasing a new video card, right? So you mail about it. Or maybe you had a bunch of Android phones that got a little bit older and you got to get rid of that stock. So you're selling them at a discount. You email the list and say, hey, Samsung Galaxy, blah, 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 G8 Note XYZ, 30% off because I need to clear stock before the next shipment comes in. I mean, there's really a bunch of stuff you can do, but you basically make really cool, interesting offers, right? And people will come to you. And it's just a very easy way to drive them back to your store, because otherwise, what control do you really have over your audience, over your customers, over your prospects? Not much, not much, besides all the other additional benefits of being able to email your followers and your subscribers and customers every single day with with your philosophy, with your personality, if you will, because that does come across in an email. And them choosing to do business with you just because they like you more than some other fella that doesn't email their list or doesn't have a list, and they don't even think about the other fella. right? Because you're just top of their mind because you email every day. So it's very common, like, to use a list like that, and it's very profitable too. Like, if you really just take somebody like a business owner who has a list and who mails that list all the time, and one that doesn't, you'll see that the one who mails is always going to be making more money. And I'm not talking 10% more money. I'm talking a substantial amount of money, like double the money, triple the money, quadruple the money than the business without a list.
Awesome. This has been awesome. Ego, man, this has been some great stuff, man. I'm glad you was able to come on and share your story and share everything you know about this building an email list. This has been great, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, that's my pleasure. Like I said, it's been a really cool to chat, and I wanted to use this opportunity, if I may.
Now is
plug my book.
Right now is the time.
Now's the time. Okay.
Right now is your plug-in time. Go ahead, go shoot.
Go now. Here's the cue, Igor. Go now. So I would really like to put a physical copy of my book in your hands, guys, for free. I'll pay for the printing and everything. I just ask you to chip in on the shipping. So you go to igorsbook.com, and I put together a special offer. So you'll be able to get the physical book, the audible version, professionally narrated by an audible audio artist, the digital version of the book as well, plus $3.8 thousand worth of bonuses and trainings that teach you the basics of building your email list, all free. If you just chip in on the shipping and handling, it's a $10 shipping and handling fee. So go to igorsbook.com and check it out. Again, you could just go to Amazon and get the book there, and not get any of the bonuses and pay for the book, actually. Or you can just let me ship it to you and just chip in on the shipping and handling, so I can throw in a bunch of bonuses as well. So really hope you do that, because the book has already become a bestseller in its category. It's been getting really good reviews. I think 4.5 stars on Amazon. There's always the occasional, 2-star review. But yeah, I would appreciate if you grab the copy, and I hope you like it. Actually,
there's a link in the description, so you could check on the link, because Iris sent me the link. So the links are in the description if anybody wants to get a free book. All you gotta do is pay for shipping. And then, but Igor, thank you so much for coming by, man. Greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Always happy to be here, and have a great show going on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But don't leave just yet. We're going to chat a little bit off the air. But now it is time for shout outs. But you can say goodbye to everyone before you go.
Bye, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope we shared some value and you find it helpful. So anytime.
Thanks, Igor. All right, so now it is time for shout outs. Big shout out to my Real Wise fan, Poppy J, Brandy J, love you guys. Big shout out to everybody in the chat that came by. Corrado, Latina A, and Callie, thank you. She's also one of the Snowmans in the Morning's biggest fans. Appreciate you coming by and showing love. And to everybody who's tuned in, we appreciate it. Big shout out to my man Igor for coming through and sharing what he knows about email marketing and everything. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Love you and appreciate you, baby. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know your boy Wise does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at @wise_b_blunt, Instagram at @wise_b_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/wise76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.